Shortly after stepping on board this mobile clinic, Francis Suarez became the first person in Florida to participate in an experimental treatment to fight COVID-19. He's also the mayor of Miami, who has recovered from the virus and has been symptom-free for at least 14 days. Researchers hope his plasma can help a critically ill coronavirus patient nearby.
I got 3 or 4 Instagram messages that were very similar, asking if I would be willing to donate blood or plasma, and with the same number. I was actually at my parents' house because they were decontaminating my house, and I actually called back the patient right away, the patient's family right away, and they were very emotional. They were very, very grateful, and are very hopeful that with this donation, hopefully he can be saved.
The American National Red Cross wants other recovered patients to do the same. Plasma is the liquid portion of blood that's full of antibodies that fight infections. Blood is drawn and piped through a special machine to extract the yellow-colored serum. Donors then get their red cells and platelets back in a process that takes a little longer than donating blood. Recipients will then, in theory, be able to share the donor's active immunity. After first approving it for emergency use, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has now authorized Johns Hopkins University and the Mayo Clinic to begin clinical trials to see if passive antibody therapy may shorten the duration of illness, the severity of disease, or prevent people from dying from it altogether, and to find a way to boost the immune system of frontline health workers.
People have put their egos aside and banded together to try to work together for the common good. And I think in the end, science will win out.
The FDA gave New York State's Department of Health permission to conduct the experimental procedure last month, though it's only been used on a handful of patients. Diana Barrett became the first potential plasma donor in her state and is working to connect recovered patients to opportunities to save lives through Facebook.
We are keeping a running list of every study that we can find around the country and making those available and acting as a matchmaker of sorts between research institutes and survivors to make the system more efficient and expedite the process, because we don't have time to waste. Lives are on the line.
This treatment predates vaccines and was used to fight the 1918 flu pandemic, as well as more recent outbreaks of the coronavirus family, like SARS and MERS. One donation can generate nearly 4 units of plasma and could help 4 people. However, it's not known to be a safe and effective treatment for COVID-19.
We don't understand a lot about the immune response to this virus. We're assuming it's similar to other viruses, and there are good reasons to think that. And so we think that within 7 to 14 days after the onset of an infection, that people will develop an immune response and eventually make high amounts of antibodies. Although exactly when the peak of antibody production will be, we don't know, and how long it will stay permanent, we also don't know that either.
Institutions in 20 states are coordinating their research through a national COVID-19 program to answer those questions. Together, they hope to discover therapeutic treatments that'll help reduce the number of infections and ease pressure on hospitals and healthcare workers. Andrew Chappelle, Al Jazeera.
Dr. Mohammed Munir is a virologist at Lancaster University in the UK. We appreciate your time very much. So Andrew did a very thorough job of explaining this in the package, but just the bottom line, what is it that this particular type of therapy does?
I think this is incredible discovery, especially when we don't have vaccine and therapeutic, and especially because we already know that plasma treatment has been used for many other infections, such as SARS, MERS, Ebola, Spanish flu. And it's really 100-year-old proven therapy. So certainly this has a lot more advantage, especially in the frontline workers, say doctors and nurses who are highly exposed to the treatment, to the virus. So using the plasma treatment, plasma transfusion, would certainly give the force to the front line to really fight to the patient very effectively.
So what does it do?
So the plasma itself contains a lot of antibodies, which are the molecules that are required to neutralize the virus if it comes again. For instance, when someone in a healthy state is infected with the virus, body immune system that comes in and produce a lot of small molecules, we call them monoclonal antibodies. Those are antibodies which are decisive factors for immunization. So if you take the plasma which is a spray color yellow part of the blood from those survivors. These would have loads of monoclonal antibodies, and transfusion of this plasma to any other vulnerable early or frontline workers would provide them enough antibodies that if they would become infected, they will be having enough immunity. Antibody will bind to these viruses and remove them from the body.
Are there any risks or side effects to this?
There are a couple of precautionary measures that need to be taken, especially the time course of infection. So if you use the plasma in the later stages of the infection, then the chances for the survival would be relatively less. So you have to apply the plasma in the early stages of infection when the proportion of the virus is relatively less, and that equate with the level of antibodies in the plasma. So that is one thing. And the second issue could probably arise if someone is already having underlying causes, are already frail and have a very weak immune system. If you transfuse with a heavy quantity of the plasma, that can cross-react. But these are the things that definitely need to be tested before it is approved by the WHO and FDA, and that is what is ongoing.
So if it is
in the trial.
if it is approved, what are the challenges of scaling something like this up to be able to do this on a big scale?
Yeah, so as one of the reporters just mentioned, that one donation can provide enough supply for 4 people. So I think the major challenge lies really into acquiring and scaling up enough of the plasma that can meet the demand of the people. But the second challenge really is that because most of the people who are in the community, those are probably not showing any clinical signs. So having enough diagnostic capabilities so that you can screen people who are infected before and have enough antibodies in their blood that can be used as a treatment. And the third challenge really would be is to facilitate the volunteership so that people are willing to really donate it, and the scaling up at the quantity that is required to immunize that mass population.
Dr. Mohammed Munir, we appreciate your expertise very much.
Thank you.